Right. Check, check, check. It's like we back in this thing. Mic's working. Everything's good. Welcome back. Welcome back to Noxious Masculinity with your host, Moss Man. And been a couple of minutes since I been in this thing. But wanted to get back into it, trying to continue on with the teachings of, how to move forward in your life without having a father figure. And the things that they don't teach you when you grow up in a single mother home. So if you watched the last episode, I was talking about getting off the titty and being able to find your own way outside of your mother. And when you start doing that and you start going your own way and figuring out your life and what it is that you want for yourself, and you're not looking at the world through your mother's eyes, the next step in your process of maturation is to find out the answer to the question, which is, who am I? And you have to start finding out not only about like your lineage, which is your earthly lineage of who you are, where you come from, what's your family history, what are the things that have been consistent throughout the generations in your family. And more than likely, you don't have a lot of family, but there will be some extended family that you should be able to go to, figure some questions out about your family and where you come from. And that's your earthly lineage. And then beyond that, you want to start, diving into who you are beyond your earthly lineage. Who are you? Who's that person that's inside of your head when you close your eyes, or when you're sitting there and you're talking to yourself and your mouth's not moving? Who is that thing, and where does it come from? And I think the easiest way to start trying to get answers to those questions of who am I is to dive into a religion and find a religion that suits you. More than likely, there'll be religions that you are already in that, you've been ushered into because of your family. For me, mine was Christianity. And so, church was something that wasn't, in the beginning, wasn't a necessity thing, but then it became a necessity thing. And then from that, it turned into something where it becomes more. And basically what I'm saying is, you may have a family where they make you go to church every Sunday or Saturday or whenever you go to church. And then there's also, in the tradition of going to church, there's also lessons that can be learned within that. And so I think once you start to mature and you start to, realize, okay, I'm trying to do some things with my life. Who am I, and where am I, and what am I? Religion is a great way to start building that foundation of who it is you are at the core of your being. And don't let the traditions of things bore you. I mean, during your youth, it's definitely going to bore you. But as you start to mature, you want to start to ask yourself questions about, well, why is it that we believe in this religion? And what is it about this religion that does something for people? And so when I was young, I started going to church, and we would go to church like every Sunday. And then we would go on Bible study on Wednesday. And then for a period of time, we started, my grandfather started getting into like wanting to share the word, and he started getting into like wanting to be a preacher. And so Thursdays we would go to his house, and I would just go because he was always going to have snacks for us, chips and dip, and then we could go play video games in his back office. And so I always thought that that was like fresh. But then as I started to mature, I started to learn different things about life that he was teaching. And, you know, when you start asking the right questions and you start diving into religion, religion isn't something that should be your end all be all. And it shouldn't be the only lens that you use to see life. But you want this to start building your foundation. And one thing religion does is it builds discipline. And in building discipline, this is going to help you push forward in your manhood, because part of becoming a man is having a certain level of discipline about yourself. And religion does a great job of teaching that. And it's not necessarily like going to school where, you know, you got to get your homework done by this time so you can get this grade type of thing. Religion is like a self-grading thing. Sure, you'll have people in the church who want to judge you and all that, but don't worry about those people. Religion should be something that you are using to build your discipline in. And on top of that, you're finding out who you are. Because I think all of the religions at some point have something that's in it that talks to our spirit. And sure, religion may be man-made. It may be thought up in the books written by men, but there's something that's in there, that's intertwined in the matrix of it, that speaks to our spirit. And that's why I think that people become so infatuated with it. And so I think that in your journey of becoming a young man, diving into a religion and becoming dedicated to that religion for a set period of time, for me, it was a good, maybe like, I would say like 4 years, maybe 3 to 4 years of when I was totally dedicated. And I mean, it started in my youth because that's just what was in my family. But as I started to mature and I started to internalize and I started to look up things on my own, there'd be times when my grandfather would give me a Bible, like basically homework. And he would like tell me, go study something. And then I'd have to come back and teach it to him. And so I think that that's an excellent way for you to start building your foundation, is dive into your religion, find a partner in crime that's in the religion that you can dive into it with. Maybe it's a friend, maybe it's a cousin, maybe it's just somebody that's at the church, but you guys take time to learn about whatever religion that you're in and dive into it, and then take times to go get lessons from this. Do it in your own time, like homework, and then come back to your partner and teach them whatever it is that you felt like you learned from that. Because I think that's a great way to start embedding some of the things that are in your religious text into yourself. And what religion does is it builds discipline. At the same time, religion also builds, I don't want to say, like, I would say like a type of zombie where you become blind to like thinking for yourself, and you lose, like Kanye said in one of his songs, he says, hold up, you done lost your streetness. And I think that religion does that too, is where it kind of takes you away from the streetness that you have within you. And you don't want to lose that streetness, but you also want to take time to immerse yourself in a religion, because you're going to learn a lot about yourself and who you are. And so to be disciplined is to become a disciple of something. You know, you want to be a disciple. You want to learn how to follow something and follow rules and set standards for yourself. So that way you can go out one day and say, no, I don't do that. Or somebody says, hey, you want to do this? And you go, nah, I'm not going there. I don't do that. And I'm not telling you to avoid fun things or avoid certain situations, but the lesson in that is being able to stand up for yourself and stand on principles and stand on things. And so for you to take the time out to say, I'm going to stand on this discipline and I'm going to learn these things, and then I'm going to be a disciple to it. Well, that is how you go about building your manhood. And You don't want religion to be this safety net for you when you've gone through things. You want it to be there and something that you build your foundation on, so that when you do go through things, you've already built up the strength and the calluses, metaphorically speaking, to be able to take on life. And I think that once you start to learn about religion and you learn about the holy people within whatever religion that you're in, those people become another one of those idols that you look up to, that you can say, okay, here's what I should look like. Here's how I should conduct myself. I should conduct myself with morals. I should conduct myself with honor. And when you do that and you build that within yourself, then you start to find out who you are. And not only find out who you are, but hopefully it leads you to understand where you are. You know, maybe you're in a good environment. Maybe your mom does a great job and you've never wanted for anything. Or maybe you're in a terrible environment and things are horrible and you're afraid to walk outside. Finding these religions can give you clarity as in where you are in life and why you're there. And, you know, I think these religious texts will help you understand, you know, there's a purpose behind everything. And when you start to realize that there's a purpose behind everything, then you start to have some understanding, and understanding leads to wisdom. And this is what you want to embed in yourself on your path to manhood without having a father around. And so this is exactly what I did. And I truly immersed myself in being the best Christian that I could be, to the point where, you know, sometimes it would hinder me and my mom's relationship, because sometimes she felt like I was more dedicated to the religion than I was maybe to her. And there were times where I was. There was times where I put this before everything. And that is something that you need to learn how to do, because in the long run, that's going to teach you how to be a better leader. And on top of that, you learn and you find out where you are. Life, everything that we're living, this thing is not what you may think it is. And I remember being in school and learning about energy, and learning that energy cannot die, and it can't be destroyed, and it can't be created. It can only be transferred. So that means the place that we're living at right now isn't going to be forever, but the energy that moves this, that can make these fingers move, that can make your eyes blink, that can make your heart beat, that energy is going to be transferred somewhere else. And so if you understand that, then you realize the world that I live in and the surroundings that I am do not make me who I am. And this is only here to help cultivate the energy that's within me. And as you start to realize these things and you start to figure out these things, then it gives you clarity in life, and it gives you the ability to have foresight and not just look at what's right in front of your face. You're able to look down the road and say, you know what, these things are going to help me become. And, you know, one thing I like about the word discipline and disciple is the word dis is in it. And not like, oh, your shoes is whack type of dis. More like a disc where like a CD, or, you know, not VHS, but like a disc, a DVD. That's where I was going with it. A DVD, you know, it's a disc. So it's there's a disc within discipline. So that means it's circulatory. You know, everything comes back around, and, you know, and it also tells you where you're at. We're in this disc, this music, this movie that's being played out. And usually a song is something that you can learn from. It becomes repetitive, but there's things that are in there that you can learn from. Or if it's a DVD, it's a movie. We watch movies because we feel ourselves at one with the character or going through the character's journey. And this is how you have to start seeing yourself. And then it's crazy because then it says IP in line, you know. line being that you're on a path somewhere. So the song or the movie's being played out. I'm heading towards somewhere. Hopefully, I have started to establish the surrogate fathers that I need. Hopefully, I'm deciding to step away from my mother and being able to see life in my own view and have my own ideals for myself. And then I'm stepping into these different formats of self cultivation, like religion, and now the song and the story is being played out and I'm starting to see it. And now I can see a future for myself and I'm headed on the line towards where it is that I'm trying to be. And in the midst of this, you're figuring out who you are and what you are and hopefully where you're going. And in the middle of discipline, I'm going to pull this up because I think this is kind of cool. And I'll show you. Okay, so look, as you can see here, IP. So like I was talking about discipline and how I like the word discipline and disciple because it has the word disc in it, right? And so we're talking about the disc. At the end of it, there's a line. There's somewhere that you're headed, that you're going. In the middle of it, there's IP. Well, what is IP? Well, in short, it's Internet Protocol, right? Okay, so I got an IP network, IP address. But there's also, it's short for intellectual property. And you know, if you can start to see where I'm going with this, right? I'll come back to the screen, but like, so you're on this disc, this song or this movie that's being played out. There's a gaining of intellectual property that's happening there. You're starting to learn about life, who you are, and then there's a line where you're going. That's why I like the word discipline. That's why you have to be a disciple in life. And the greatest way to start your disciplehood is start with a religion and let it maturate. Look at religion like school. It's like going to elementary and eventually you graduate from it. And eventually you start to internalize it. But for a set of time, 4 years seems to be a good time frame, right? You go for 4 years, you graduate, and now it's internalized. And now you can go be a disciple in other areas of life. And then that goes back to figuring out, like, you know, what you want to do with your life. Who do you want to look like? And this is how you become a disciple. This is how you become disciplined. And discipline is going to lead you to where it is that you want to be. But if you're not disciplined, you're going to always be pushed any way that the wind goes. So that's why I think that discipline is such a really cool word. And in this song that's being played out or the movie that's being played out, and that you're learning about who you are and where you are and what you are, then you can start to self-analyze yourself. And I think that this is one of the most important things in life, along with other things. But being able to look in the mirror and say, yo, here's where I'm fucking up. Here's where I'm doing all right. Here's where I could be a little better. Or these are the things that I need to change. Being able to self-analyze. And it doesn't have to do with, maybe sometimes it has to do with your outer appearance. Like me, I just cut my hair. Sometimes you feel like, you know what, maybe I want to change my hairstyle, or change my facial hair, or change the way that I dress. But all of these different maturation processes come from self-analyzation. And the only way to start self-analyzing is having that foundation of, you know, who you are and what you are, where you're going. And as you start to self-analyze, then you can tell yourself where you need to be better at. And this is what life is. Slow progression of getting better. Slow progression of analyzing things and making them better. so that your intellectual property becomes sound. And as you begin to self-analyze, then you're on the road to what is called becoming. And this is the lane of manhood. And this is where you're missing at. This is where fatherhood is essential for you, but you don't have it because all you got is your mama or your grandma or some people that's around you. So you have to start looking at yourself as I am becoming. Where I am today, I'm not going to be 4 years from now. And where I'm going to be 8 years from now, it's always going to be, it should be something that you've always progressed along the way. You should never be in the same place for longer than a certain period of time. And I think 4 years is a good amount of time for you to be in a place of somewhere where you haven't grown and you haven't been able to look back and see, wow, I've transitioned exponentially from the person that I once was. The information that I have now as compared to years before has grown. And so I'm becoming. And that is what life is. Self-analyzing to become. What is it that you're becoming? And that's what you need to be focused on. What is it that I'm becoming? And in my becoming, what am I going to leave behind for my loved ones and for the people that care about me and the people that I want to influence or give something to? So it's the path of becoming. And in becoming and in self-analyzing, that's when you can make your mistakes and realize, because you've built your foundation on your religion of knowing that, you know what, I'm going to make mistakes, but I can forgive myself. And maybe you say, well, God, maybe you start with God will forgive me. And it should grow into I can forgive myself. And once you can do that and you can say, you know what, now my mistakes become valuable. Now there are no mistakes. Now along this path and this journey of me making choices, I'm getting better and I'm learning to analyze things much better and make better decisions. And this has to do with becoming a great leader, which is what manhood is about. But you got to learn how to follow first. And then as you make these mistakes and you learn from them, you realize there are no mistakes. All there are lessons. And do you get the lesson or not? And if you get the lesson, well, then you grow. You don't get the lesson, you stay in the same place and your life will show it. So that's one thing that I think that is really important about religion. On top of everything that I've said, and as almost like a summary of what I've just said, it also helps with your mental health. In the world that we live in today, there's so many different things that try to distract you from the things that you're trying to accomplish. And when you are distracted and you aren't on your purpose, your spirit and your mind and your body they become one in a way where they send messages to you. And the way that they send messages to you is through things like depression or things like anxiety, things that mess with your mental health and the way that you're able to operate in the world. And if you build these foundations that I've been talking about in these episodes, your mental health is going to be so strong that you won't be able to be broken. Sure, there'll be times where you do feel a little sad. You do feel a little mad, but your mental health will be fortified by these things that I'm talking about when it comes to religion and all the other episodes as well. Your mental health will be there, and that will be the engine that keeps you going through all of this, because the mental health is what is like the engine to success. If you can have a good mental capacity and good mental health, it's an engine that pushes you forward to have success in life and whatever it is that you choose to do in your life. So that's why being a disciple and being disciplined, self-analyzing, realizing that you're becoming, mistakes are going to be valuable. Now your mental health is there. And now you can get up every day and go to war with yourself and with the outside world as you journey on your path, as that song is playing or that movie's being played out, and you're gaining intellectual property and you're headed on that line to your destination. Now you're there. Now you got the strength to keep pushing forward. And when you're able to do that, then, this leads into work and jobs that you should take on and things that I think that are helpful to your discipline, and then helpful also in just everyday life, learning lessons. Jobs are not just things that you do to earn money. There's lessons that can be learned in jobs if you take on good jobs, or if you paying attention to what's occurring at the job. There's a lot of lessons that can be learned, life lessons that can be learned. And so I'll lead into that. That'll be for the next episode, and we'll talk about jobs and things that you can learn from jobs that you can take into your everyday life, and then also into your, your spiritual growth and your manhood growth. So that's all I wanted to talk about this time around. I want to try to keep them a little shorter, something that's just a little more to the point, but I also want to get the information out. And so hopefully this one was a good one. Felt like it was a good one. And, send this to somebody that is growing up without a father in the home. Send this to somebody who maybe doesn't even have parents at all. And I think that if you send these episodes to them, it'll be helpful to them, because I'm trying to do it from the way that I would be talking to myself, to my younger me, and what I needed. And hopefully somebody else is in those shoes as well. So that's it for the Moss Man, dropping the knowledge on how to get up out of this single parenthood and not having a daddy around. Be sure to be on the lookout for the next one. If you like it, hopefully you like it. If not, you don't gotta like it. If you don't want to subscribe, you don't gotta subscribe. But it'd be cool if you did. Until the next time, Moss Man is out of here. Stay suave, stay stupid.